Mr. Bob here shortly.
Could we move, Judge, to Gene and
Yes.
Tony's item and?
Give me a second, I'll get there. All right. We're going to move on down to the item to discuss, consider take action on payment for postage in the amount of $25,900 for mass mailing of property tax statements, and to authorize the auditor to issue a check payable to Computech to be paid from $104.99.4361. In trying to accomplish this, it wasn't as straightforward as we could do it, because county can't make payments unless we have a contract. And I talked to both, Meredith was tied up with trial, so I got a hold of Jim Allison, General Counsel, County Judge Commissioners. I know y'all know who he is. Tommy, I'm not sure if you ever met Jim or not, but he's been doing that for over 30 years. He was with the AG's office. Talked to him, and also a lady that's made some great presentations to the County Judge Commissioners Association, that's purchasing agent in Denton County, Beth Fleming. TAC thinks enough of her knowledge of it. They had a course that Nancy attended that she taught. And she said, of course, Big County immediately sent me, did I send that to you yet?
Yes.
Okay. Their RFP is about that big to go out for getting the tax services. They don't have as good a collector evidently as we do to take care of that. But at any rate, she also said, I don't think you all can pay that. Sent that material to Lance Spruill. I talked to him and told him we had a problem with that. Could he get a contract for it? They evidently took all of that and it took Glenn's out what was worthwhile. Had gotten pretty far in a contract. Not knowing the outcome of that, I called Jean Marie, and it was after 5, so I called the voicemail at your office, then I called your cell phone, and you must subscribe to the same service Barry Muller does, because it's successful. You know. But I called Tony, and he said, I'll take care of that. He didn't faint when I asked him whether you all could do the payment, and then we reimburse you. So.
I'm sorry, can you
What?
put your mic on?
Oh, okay.
That means you got to start over.
No, you're just, you're muffled on the phone.
Okay.
It's all them whiskers.
Yeah. At any rate, the idea today was to, Purdue Brandon Fielder has agreed to go ahead and pay that. And then what I'm asking us to do is to approve, we may need to reword it for Monday to actually approve that. Or when we get what we're looking for is that 25, Tommy, I think the 25.9 was that?
29.5, Joe.
20, sir?
29.5. I
Wow.
believe it's 29.5.
That's what I read.
No.
25.9?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
dyslexic.
Yeah. You don't read well either.
What was in an email?
It has a bill attached to it. At any rate, they will pay that, and then what I gathered in that email is this would be the gross price, but possibly their software product will combine things to get a better rate. Is that what that kind of meant or not? I was kind of reading between the lines.
The only thing, Judge, that Lance said, and Tony and Gene was present at this meeting probably in July or August, I want to say latter part of July, that he felt that there might be some savings just because the way the model that they work under. So Lance sent this invoice, and then that's how it all took off. But then Lance sent me another email. He says, Tommy, anything that's left from this, that's a savings, he's going to push back to us. So in other words, I mean,
Right.
yeah. So there's a built-in savings here for some possible underage, but I think probably, he's probably going to be pretty close spot on. It's going to take that amount of money, Judge, to put this product.
We don't have bulk rate. We do first class, right, in our postage. Karen, do you know?
I don't, we use,
Do you have a permit and use bulk rate on all your mailing?
I don't think we use What is
You know,
the
we
postage
did do-
rate?
Okay.
48, we use 46.5.
Well, if that's what we're using, then we're not paying the regular rate.
Right, we're
But-
not.
Okay.
Maybe we do, maybe we
Yeah.
have a permit for that.
Yeah, and they quit all that sorting requirements you used to have to do to make it easy, and now, that's not a problem. So we may be taking advantage of some of that. But I appreciate, Tommy, you get in with, because we and I talked to, because I get Stevens County, which I just got this last week, their tax billing. And, you know, they looked like they were paying a whole lot less, and maybe this is what's.
Well, I think, reading between the tea leaves, Judge, apparently there's some things that Lance could do with the way it's set up,
Yeah.
that there's gonna be a savings on this. I can't tell you, quantify how much it is, fellas, but it's gonna be some.
So what I see, they will take your check to do it, then they're gonna send you the actual, let's say it comes out 24/7 or something. They're gonna send you the refund, and you're gonna bill us the 24/7, is that,
Yes, Judge, that's my understanding of what we talked about yesterday.
okay, all right. And then one of the other comments made was whether our agreement with Purdue means they do all this and this becomes the way we do it. I'm just asking you all to review that RFP and see if there's anything we probably need contractually, and that the whole thing, one of the questions by Jim Allison was, are you needing to bid this out if the whole project costs more than $50,000? But if we're only paying you all for, because our contract with you all already covers everything but the postage for this.
That's correct.
So, you know, the suggestion might be, if you all look at that, decide, do we need anything, even though we've known Lance Spruill since Midwestern and all that kind of stuff, do we need business to business? Do we need some sort of agreement that puts any of the protections in it that the Denton County document has? You know, that's probably gonna be for you all to look at. And I think I copied you and Smythe on that also. Don't try to read it late at night and fall asleep. But that's the idea on this.
And we'll do that, Judge, before this comes up next year. We'll look through that RFP and see if there is anything in there we think would be beneficial to.
Okay, and I would think that's probably your all's call, but it just, devil's always in the details, so if you take a look at that, and that works for you, then, okay.
No, here's the deal, I mean, it's actually, it's PBS football, Judge, and I'm grateful we got a relationship with Duke and Tony and Gene, because basically, I mean, 50 cents, if I said, hey, we're gonna farm it out, they didn't even have to invite me to that meeting over in July and August, because it's their football. But realizing we was trying to spend money locally with a known commodity, and Lance has done a good job, that's what we went with.
No, and that's what we should be doing. Just a sidebar to that, we had a meeting that I can't remember, I thought I sent you notice about it on that auction house group.
I may have got a judge,
Okay.
I'm not gonna say I did or didn't.
They put enough bait on the hook, we're looking at it. We haven't told them flat no, but that's something you're looking at. And then the other thing I sent you, we've been approached on what's called PACE. And there's 12 counties and 3 cities participating in that. And I kind of need your read. Jeff and I are working on that.
I thought what I'd do is lob that out on a listserv to all 254 counties to see actually what the old saying, see how much meat's on the bone.
Well, there's only 12 counties doing it.
Yeah,
So,
so pull out 254. I know Jim Dockery sent something back over, and he was kind of, I don't mind doing that. I mean, I don't mind looking into it. I mean, again, I don't know whether there's a whole lot of meat on the bone.
there could be, and where I see it, and you stood here and made testimony, that we ought to be looking at development of our tax base. Well, if they can get 20% of that money and it works, might help some of the downtown development. You know, that's a 20% of the property value they can use to improve things they're gonna save on energy. And then that's collected through taxation. Did I send you all this stuff on it? You're looking at me with wrinkles like I did.
Yeah, I've heard of this, Gerald.
Yeah, I can say, Judge, that as far as you and I have talked briefly about it, but we have enough of our clients talking about it. In fact, this week the firm is setting up an internal committee to look into that from our statewide perspective.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that makes a difference. At any rate, I was kind of tying to this as we look at our total package, how any of this enters in, because the way it's set up, it's billed through taxation. Jim Allison expressed concern that that hasn't been tested in the courts, whether we have the constitutional authority to do that. But there has to be someone feel aggrieved to bring that forward. So, and there's no AG opinion suggesting you don't do that. So, you know, we can roll these things together while we're looking at packages. And there's a lady that will come up out of Austin. Austin administers the program. They do that as part of this deal that the state set up. So it's the only thing that looks like that your officers have to do is take that collection and divide that out, that money out, and send it to the lending agency. One of the possible drawbacks, if you have it mortgaged here at Bank X, Bank Y makes them the loan on the 20%. Bank Y has a superior position to Bank X. But to me, if it's a good deal, I would think Bank X would. So if they keep their position. Okay. I'm going to say on this, if y'all are agreeing in consensus, I think the item is too narrow to take action on it today, but we can put it on for Monday. Y'all need to come back. We'll put it on consent for Monday to approve that net bill, so that as soon as we know that, then we're one step ahead, and we'll approve it to reimburse Purdue Brandon Fielder not to exceed
The amount.
25.9. Yeah, but we'll do that we'll show that in the item. I don't expect it to be greater than that. If it does, then we need to put it on the next agenda to pay the additional money. But I bet you Lance knows what he's doing there. So, is that agreeable with you all, or?
That's fine, Your Honor. We can give Mr. Spruill a check as early as today.
Okay.
So that the process can keep moving forward.
Okay. And really appreciate that. So, and I know I kind of meddled in your business, but I'm trying to get this done.
One of the things, and I just want to say, one of the things that may be worth looking at, because I certainly don't understand how the county can purchase $40,000 worth of postage for Bob that's billed out somewhere down the road, as opposed to buying postage for our stamps here. Not from Lance Spruill, because that's not the way that I had done this process before, but with a printing company, there is a form that Lance will carry to the post office with him. That form can be prepaid by anyone for that postage, and between the entity and the post office, and then Lance just carries that. Lance has to print it, has to give it to us, and it has to go back to Lance. But that may be a way around. This is the way we had done it the last time here as well. So, because I don't see any difference in buying the postage a week early for mailing those out, or buying $40,000 worth for our machine. I mean, to me, it's all the same.
Yeah, I follow what you're saying. Not all things always run down the road the same way, but
Well, but in this instance, Judge, they're asking for Lance to receive the money, not the postal system.
yeah, and I think that's probably what both Beth and Jim saw as the difference. In fact, she asked that. She said, "Can you all?" She said one way around it is to pay the post office and have them download it to him. But I said,
I mean, that is the process. That's what
simple
happens.
say, yeah.
But Lance makes that happen. He has the software, and you and I couldn't do it without being on that program with them. And then he generates that form, and the only reason I know is because B&C did the same thing when we sent out the informational packets the county did on the jail. And I took the form, and went to the post office and then brought the form back, stamp paid, to B&C. We didn't pay B&C, we paid the post office for those, and that was
Yeah, and then it's the same thing. We send that money in, and then they download it to our machine.
yeah, they download it to the
Yeah.
machine.
PNC printing.
Yeah. So,
In a real clean way, and maybe this dovetails off what Jeff's talking about, is that if we've been doing these in-house, Judge, probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, we gave Bob a heads up and said, hey, listen, we're fixing to pull the trigger. Can you download 25.9 or 25 whatever? You know, but I don't know whether if it could be set up, and maybe it's not, it's all pie in the sky. Next year, you just pull the trigger, and Bob, if there's some way to do it, mark electronically where, I mean, there's still a paper trail on it.
Yeah.
But the 25,000 that we need would be transferred to Pitney Bowes that's sitting in Lance's office on Southwest Parkway. Then you take a lot of this check and, I mean, I don't know whether it can work that way or not, but I know you can put X amount of money on a postage machine.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether, maybe Lance can't do that until after the fact. I don't
yeah,
know.
post office wants their money.
Still
for
buying
everybody.
stamps, no matter.
Well, you're still buying stamps and final announcement, but the thing is, you know, you're still buying stamps, but I'm sure that Lance is doing all the postage
Yeah,
on Southwest Parkway, then he just
yeah.
goes to, drops it off, Jeff. It doesn't matter. We'll get it cleaned up. This was the first time out the gate on this deal. Me and Eddie Triggs talked, Lance has been doing the same deal for Eddie and Lisa for 14 years. Got it down to the science upstairs. It just,
Well, and he brought that up, and I said, the thing you can't trust, why law isn't uniform for all local governments, but it's not. And, you know, for a long time, school districts and cities could go up to 50,000 without having to bid anything out. Counties were at 25. And why they would have that difference, but they did. And so when Lance told me, he said, well, Eddie Trigg does this all the time. I said, all I can tell you is what the people that are supposed to be our experts say in that, and we're going to get it solved, but, you know, so we've done that. I appreciate that. And then as we work this other out, we try to figure out which is the best way to do that.
But see, like the flyers that we mail, my business mails, we have printed with an indicia, and Lance may be printing an indicia on the envelope that carries his permit information, so all he needs is clearance to the post office. He doesn't have to run them through anything. They're already printed that way, carrying his info, so. And that may be how he does that.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate the generosity very, very much.
Thank you.
Tony, are you just out on Fridays from now on?
I'll be there this Friday. You mean lunch? Yeah, I'll be there. I heard you were by yourself last week.
Yeah.
So what happens, you get all your friends in one place. Okay. Item number 1, let's go back to it, is discuss, consider, take action, review, and direct payment of payroll and claims.
This is the same packet that we always present, with one addition. Deb had previously prepared a more detailed overtime report, and I think y'all had asked her to continue doing that, updating it. So we just added, when she prepared it before, it was through September 20, it was July through September 21st. So we've had 2 pay periods since then, October 5th and the most recent one, so we just updated it. I added 2 columns to those.
Man, that's a swing in overtime hours.
Is that a swing because of the holiday, or?
But vacation pay shouldn't affect, well, I guess it could. Now?
Well,
Holiday is paid separate than overtime.
But I mean, we have reduced in 1 month's time from 9/21 to 10/19, less than half of the overtime has went away. 1,800 hours of overtime in the 9/21 pay period, 800 hours of overtime. Unbelievable. What could we be doing for 1,200 hours worth of overtime that wouldn't be required to do any longer?
Which two are you comparing? I didn't see.
Very back page.
Very
Oh.
back page, Judge, I'm looking
Oh,
at
okay, I was
where
looking
it
at the
rolls,
overtime
where it
report here.
rolls.
Okay.
But
And you know, the lion's share is 561, so it irrelevant on any of the other departments, they don't change that number any.
well, I have a question, on 10/19, on that page, Linda, it's got 828.83 overtime. Right here on this page, it says 926.56.
This is just 560, 561, and 562.
This,
This big one,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So this would be less hours. That's not how does everything.
Well, that's the right direction, though.
yeah. It's considerable swing.
And I know the sheriff, Chief Metter, and Lieutenant Bonham, and Captain Patterson, I understand have had some discussions trying to look at this, you know, because oddly enough, their jail numbers are above 475 for the last month. And when we were down more close to 450, we had more time and less, but maybe they're getting people through training on the floor and, you know, all that, so.
Linda, would it be possible, is this yours or Deb's sheet here, but is it possible as a percent of what overtime runs as a percentage of payroll to add that to this sheet?
Person, yes, you can do that.
On the pay period 7/13, Jeff, we're looking at 2,400 man hours, and then 10/19, you're looking at 828.
Unreal. It's unreal.
Cut it by 2/3.
Well, we're headed in the right direction, that's for sure.
Even though most everybody's got 8 hours of holiday pay, there's a few individuals that got like 1.75 or 5.25 weeks.
That could be because they worked 33 and a half hours for the week. So after working 32 hours for the week, up to 40 would be your holiday pay. So they worked an extra hour and a half.
And it's at regular time.
Yeah. Holiday pay is at straight time, not time and a half.
Right. $1.75 hours of holiday pay.
That could just be because somebody might have worked extra one day. It didn't necessarily have to be on the holiday. It's just looking at the entire week.
If you looked at the week, you worked 32 hours, you get 8 hours holiday. If you worked 34 hours, then you're going to actually get paid for 42 hours, but those 2 hours are going to be at holiday pay. They're not going to be at time and a half.
Correct.
So at least some of this overtime is going to be offset with the holiday being in that pay period.
It could be, yeah.
But it's still considerably better than what it was a couple of months ago. You just look at, by individuals, some of the higher average individuals had considerably less than their average.
Well, I wasn't paying attention. I looked at one of them's pay instead of their hours and thought 225 hours of overtime. Then I went, wait a minute.
Well, some of these individuals that average over 30 hours, they were getting 8 and 9 hours, so.
Go ahead.
Well, a few pay periods ago, y'all were talking about overtime in the jail and sheriff's office, and that there's the 207K, which is like 84 hours over 2 weeks before they get overtime. And y'all had the question, would the jail be considered under that as a law enforcement? I asked Michelle Arsenault yesterday, and she said it would be considered.
Not
Michelle
well.
Arsenault is our TAC HR
I know, she
consultant.
needs to read it again.
Oh.
Okay, wait a minute. I know that for the 128-hour thing. I don't know about the 80-hour deal.
Well, I think it's under the same law. I think you can look at a
Okay,
2-week
well,
period or a 4-week period.
because I was trying to look at that, and it said it gave the duties of the people that could do it. They have to have the ability to arrest. Well, jailers are post-arrest. And so I thought that took them out and immediately. They didn't meet the
I
qualifications.
didn't question her.
Okay, I know, and she's good, but I think I'm going to have her show me where she thinks that
So, but I mean,
fits.
you might reach out to her.
Yeah.
Because I remember y'all had that question, and so
Who are you talking to?
Michelle
Michelle
Arsenault,
Arsenault.
she's our HR consultant from TAP.
She's back again.
Yeah. And she's great when you
Yeah.
have a question. But-
Well, you know, she was our HR person. She was working for TAC, and I met her and hired her away from TAC, and then they hired her away from us. So,
Shouldn't have let her go.
Yeah.
I've got a technical Excel question for you. On the tabs on the bottom of the spreadsheet, can I, in new Excel versions, can I stack those tabs? Can I row them behind one another instead of running them across? Do you do that,
No, I just let them lay side by side.
Devin?
Yeah, side by side.
Okay. And you Deb, you've never seen one that she uses that way? Okay.
You can hide them if you want to send the
Yeah.
spreadsheet and you want to hide it or lock it, or somebody else doesn't see those other ones. You can do that. You can just, I think it's just or left click on it, and you can hide them. And it might be the same if you left click on those tabs, you might have some other options of how they viewed down there.
Okay.
You all missed out yesterday. The auditor's office had a little happy birthday thing for me, and it was incredibly good. The ice cream was manufactured, but the lemon
Lemon cheesecake bowl.
Oh,
lemon
my
cheesecake,
heavens.
wow. So
I told Deb that's my new favorite. She's gonna have to remember that recipe.
that was great.
Wow.
Okay, are we ready to take action on this?
There's so many.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts, to approve the items as presented for payroll and claims. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
And Judge, this overtime here will still be on
Yes.
the regular?
Yeah.
It doesn't change till,
The third payday in November.
okay. And then, after it changes, we'll be able to do this meeting on Mondays?
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes. And, while I know that's been in a position, but to some people that delay, and I've answered every email I've gotten on it. I didn't see the one, evidently there was Chief Choate sent something you got.
Yes, and I basically said the same thing. You had responded to Kimberly.
Yeah.
And it was basically the same thing I'd sent to him.
Yeah, that was a really good response.
Well, once we get there, but the other thing this does, it gives a little better chance to look at this, the overtime. You're not in as much of a rush. And I was talking to Bonin, and I said, Bonin, this gives you, and Bonin's been supportive of this. It gives a better chance to look at that and hopefully reduce the error rate in sending that information in to you all. Because it does give us some
There
extra
shouldn't
time.
be an error rate with them using the time clock.
Well,
I'm not sure what you mean about that, but we're,
if everybody's using the time clock, I agree, no, there shouldn't. But okay, if somebody forgets to clock out,
oh, okay.
some of those kind of things, and no one catches it, we've got more time now to look at
Yeah.
anything like that. So, okay. All right. Thank you all very much. You're welcome to stay. We're down to discuss, consider, take action on proposal from Terracon for the Lindemann Building chiller. Actually, it's a cooling tower. They seem to interchange those, or at least I do, those two words. I don't know whether you all followed the string of emails. It's $4,800 for them to assess that total system and determine what we need. Once they do that, then we would go out for bid on it. The other thing that's likely to come up is, do we need them to then come back and go through what's been done or do any supervision on the work? That might be something we have to consider. I am not familiar enough to even come close to making a judgment on who should say everything's working, and Bobby Yo may well be able to do that. So,
Terracon not already assessed what we need over there?
they assessed that we needed to replace it, but they didn't do a detailed review of that total system, which is what we had them do now, so we wouldn't just replace the cooling tower and then find out we've got 3 other problems because of the deterioration of that tower caused other problems. So that's why we had them do that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Who will, we will bid that cooling tower, I guess, out, and the local group will put it on, right? I mean, it's nothing tricky that anybody around here can't do, right?
No, your heating and air conditioning companies.
Do it.
Yeah, they'll bid it, and whether they select from the local manufacturer that Commissioner Harvey mentioned the other day that makes those cooling towers or what they do, but, you know, it'll be a turnkey operation. But the question is, do we need to retain Terragon's services to review the work that's done? And
Oh, well, that's what you're talking about?
You
No.
know.
No, we don't need Terracon for that.
okay, all right,
Me and Bobby O, I mean, that's,
okay,
we can.
all right. That's what I need to hear.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm qualified to do that, believe it or not.
But they'll give us the scope for the RFP then.
Yes, sir.
What goes from the cooling tower, what is inside the building that's attached to the cooling tower?
Chiller system.
A chiller system's down in there, and typically you wouldn't replace that when you replace the cooling tower, or do you?
It's all about water maintenance. If you've been putting your chemicals in there faithfully, probably not. If you have not, you probably will.
Are there valves and things that are coming from the cooling tower down to that?
Well, he stated in that reply to me, they would look at everything.
Okay.
Ooh,
Well, I think it's probably going to be the best bet to have that set of eyes on it to make sure we're covering all the bases, because the last thing we want is something to be old and give out on us after we put a new one in. It's just Greek to me, that the cooling tower deal. I've just never exposed to them. I was,
in the refineries, the cooling towers are as big as this building. Okay? They lose 1 million gallons of water a day to
evaporation.
evaporation.
Wow. And I understand, I've dealt with how we've helped Cryovac with theirs before. Iowa Park Economic Development's worked on that with different water, bringing water to them. But it's just the concept, I guess, is odd to me somehow.
It's just heat, exchanging heat, water goes in there, and then that absorbs the heat from the building. Goes to the cooling tower, goes through and disperses the heat, cools back off, goes back to the building.
Which oddly enough, according to them, is more efficient than the typical, you know.
I've heard that, and that's
Compressor.
what blows
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah. So,
And you know, we heard the other day that even though you have an old one and you replace with the brand new one, the true efficiency is most times slight.
yeah,
And because they're efficient in what they do, as long as they're working,
So the boilers are different. The boilers,
can lose efficiency bad.
oh, they're terrible. You can get a new boiler now that's 98% efficient. I mean,
Well,
your
and that's-
gas moves way down.
yeah, which is the electricity, the gas is still pretty nominal. Okay, let's take a vote on it, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right. Anything else? Okay, it's 10:46 and we're adjourned.